album reviews, top 10s, top 20s, reactions, and interviews. All things rock, everything metal. The Rock and Metal Block. What's up, metalheads and rockers? I like to say rockers and metalheads because there's no country fans that watches this channel. Maybe there is. There's no pop fans that watch this channel. Maybe there is. But for the most part, it's rockers and metalheads. What separates a rocker from a metalhead? Well, rockers might not really like hard, heavy metal. Like, whereas a metalhead likes everything metal. That's why all things rock. It could be alternative rock, death rock, pop rock, goth rock, shrimp rock, Bubba shrimp rock. But then, metal's got that big spectrum of just, thrash, speed, black, just whatever, traditional heavy metal, and then there's the metalcore, and then there's the deathcore, and then there's like every subgenre. Like one subgenre gives birth to another subgenre, and then it's like they're like rabbits. They just keep producing different genres. Like every 5 minutes, there's a new genre coming out of metal. It's like they're like fucking like rabbits out there. Anyway, been a hell of a year. Here it is, the end of the year, 2025. What was on your list as far as like great albums that came out? What did you get? What did you buy? I want to hear about it. I'm going to show you what I got. Now, I base my judgment based on the records that I have in my hand that I bought, that I enjoy listening to. So just because you say, oh, why is that on the list? Or why isn't this on the list? Well, it's because I probably don't have that, or probably maybe missed it or something. A good way to find out what records come out every year is Wikipedia. If you just type in like metal albums of whatever year, it'll tell you the year of that of all the releases. It'll go from A to Z, all the different releases. I just kind of go through that, and that's kind of like my checklist. What I like to do as far as seeing what I can get or what I don't want to get or whatever. And then just thinking about like albums and CDs, like how I think this year they did a lot of business. I think it was like something like 22 million copies sold in the US of just vinyl, and I think 11 million CDs were sold. So I'm going to do my top 20. I do this every year. Last year, Sebastian Bach made number 1. I think the year before that, I want to say, what did come out in 2023? I kind of think that was the year that wasn't Judas Priest, right? No, Judas Priest came out last year. And Judas Priest, I think, was number 2. I think Sebastian Bach knocked Judas Priest out. Anyway, go back and watch it on my channel, the YouTube, and hit subscribe and all that good stuff, like us influencers have to say. Hit like and subscribe. So let's get into this. I got a pretty wide mixture of bands that you've probably heard of, and then some bands you might not have heard of. And even got a couple that I've had on my show as far as guests go, and then there's some I just got turned on to recently, but they just made my list because I was taking a deep dive into that new wave of traditional heavy metal channel on YouTube, and I was just kind of going down that rabbit hole. I was like clicking on different bands that just look interesting, or their album cover art looks interesting, and I discovered quite a few bands that I just really, really like. I'd give a shout out to what's this album I found. Anyway, it's somewhere around here, but Wings of Steel. It's a really good band. I bought their CD, and another album I got their CD. Witch Hazel, a really good album. I mean, didn't make my list yet because I haven't really totally delved into the whole thing yet, but the songs I've heard I really love, and that's what made me buy the CD. But it's definitely worth an honorable mention. I'll even say some more after I give my list. I'll give you kind of a rundown of my honorable mentions. I have about 5 or 6 that didn't quite make my list, but that doesn't mean they're bad albums. It's just that they probably started on my list somewhere, and then as I was going through, just kind of kept going down, like like my number 20, which I'm going to say here in a bit, was up there in about maybe in the top, I want to say 12, maybe. It wasn't top 10, but at least above the top 15. But then other stuff kept coming out, and boom, 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 and then they got dropped down to 20. All right, so let's start this off. My number 20, speaking of the devil, or speaking of the witches, actually, is Burning Witches, Inquisition. Now, this is a good record, don't get me wrong. I love the artwork. They always deliver on the artwork. It's just beautifully done, beautifully packaged, as you can see the ladies there. But it's a great album. It's one of those albums that like I'll put it on and I love it when I'm hearing it. But then when I'm not listening to, I kind of don't remember any of the songs. I mean, there was nothing really sticks in my head. Although there are good songs, it's just this is probably like kind of album you're going to want to jam over and over, and it hits everyone different. Like you might, if you're a Burning Witches fan, you probably got blown away the first minute, and you probably heard it, listened to it like 50,000 times within a week. I love that guitar in the back. That's really cool. That's my number 20. Number 19. Boy, we're getting right into this shit. Number 19 is a band that I had on my show a couple of times, and I just became I've always been a fan of the music, but I really became a fan when they released this album because the progression that they've made from the earlier stuff that I listened to this. I mean, they've always been that kind of industrial metal. Sometimes that can get a little bit kind of, I guess you could say, tedious or whatever in the sound. Not them, but there's bands that do that. But with them, it's like you could just hear the progression. If you listen to early stuff to this, they've gotten more melodic and more. I don't know. There's just something more meatier, I guess. It's like the songs are just more beefier and meatier, but they're just really good, solid. Like the song, that's just the title track alone. And then I really love Crossfire. Into the Void's really good. So yeah, I got this on CD. And again, I interviewed the band not too long ago on my channel earlier this year, actually, back in, I want to say July. Get out there and get Sister Kill Cycle. And the album is called We Were Ghosts. Number 18 is a band that I also had on my show. Check this out. They're called Suicide Queen. Now, I don't have a physical copy of they don't have a CD of physical music. They're on, you can get them on Bandcamp. You can stream it anywhere. Like if you have iTunes or Apple, Spotify, any kind of streaming service, you're going to be able to see. So I'll show you the JPEG and the edits and all that stuff like that of the album cover. I had Kay Dolores. She was on my show not too long ago as well. Always been, and again, kind of like Sister Kill Cycle, like hearing the progression of this style of music from the earlier stuff to now, it's just gotten way more, like I said, kind of just really full and just really melodic in certain areas, and just you can really tell that they really put a lot into their songwriting into this, especially the song. This is what really got me this album on the list. With all the songs are great. I love the Butcher. The opening track just kills it. Rattlesnake kills it. I mean, from top to bottom, this album is great. But there's a song called "This Is How the Bleeding Starts," and it's such a great. It's a. I wouldn't say it's a ballad, but it's the mellow song on the album. And Kay's the way she's singing it is just so powerful, so emotional. You actually feel the words and the meanings behind that song, and it's just and I think everyone can get something out of that when they hear it. So yeah, so check out Suicide Queen. The album is called Crowned in Blood. All right, now we're going to 17. LA Guns. They're always making my list every year. Now they didn't make it as high this time because I really like this album, but I don't like it as much as I liked Checkered Past and then the Black Diamonds. This one's but it's a really good, solid album. It's just like I said. I mean, I think Black Diamonds made number 15 on my list last time. I think Checkered Past was up in my top 10 somewhere back when that came out. But the thing about LA Guns, though, is they're really consistent with putting out music. They at least every couple of years are putting out a new record. And ever since, and I say this all the time, ever since Phil Lewis got back together with Tracy Guns, they've been unstoppable. They're touring constantly. Just a great band. I mean, Phil Lewis sounds great live. I mean, Tracy's on top of his game. They're just all on top of their game. And Johnny Martin on bass. He's like one of my favorite bass players of all time. His bass playing reminds me of a Dunaway from Alice Cooper band. Yeah. So LA Guns, and his wife, Phil Lewis's wife, does the artwork and the painting on that. But I like the cover though because it's like takes you back to back when sleaze rock was in fashion on the Sunset Strip, leopard skin. All right. Number 16, another band I discovered a few years ago on the New Wave of Traditional Heavy Metal channel, and then I've been watching them grow. First album was good, but this album just really made me want to put them on my list because I'm beating myself up because I missed their show when it came. I had just gotten into this record. I'm like totally jamming it every day. And then I'm looking and I see that they played Portland, Oregon like a week before I bought this or whatever. I'm like, oh man, I missed them. But I did catch some cool clips on YouTube. If you ever get a chance, go on YouTube and check out Castle Rat live. and check out their stage show because they put on a really good show. This is the band that I'm going to see. I could see getting up there and hitting levels like Aim on the Marth or Ghost or Sleep Token as far as their touring goes. I could see them getting into where they're playing those big arenas and putting on a big production, and it's just a matter of time. I mean, and like I said, they started out as like nobody really knew about them, but then and I think their name kind of helps because that's what drew me to them. Is like Castle Rat. What the hell's that all about? That's got to be some good stuff with a name like that. And yeah, so it's a really good band. All their songs, it's like mostly like a concept album. Their song titles like Phoenix 1, Wolf 1, Wizard, Siren, all like kind of like one word titles, Then they got a song called Wolf 2 on here, and then Phoenix 2. So it's kind of like it tells a story. I'm not sure what the story is yet, but I'm not good at storytelling other than comic books. As you can see, I'm wearing Spider-Man. I got my Spider-Man cup. I've been playing the Spider-Man on PS4. I'm finally getting into where I'm consistently playing it on a daily basis, and I'm getting far on it. So I've been having fun with Spider-Man lately. What are you guys doing? You guys are already in that PS8? It's probably already up to PS8, right? I'm still on my PS4. Number 15. Another band discovered on the new wave of heavy metal. And me and my friend Paul, we're going to do an album review on this album soon. We were going to do it this weekend, but he was sick. He wasn't feeling too well. And plus, I wasn't feeling too much of it either. But this coming up soon. But anyway, Void, Forbidden Morals. This is such a great record. These guys, thrash metal. Singer's got a really good voice, though. He's got remember like how when Anthrax came out, they were thrash, but then they had those really high pitched operatic vocals like Joey Belladonna or whatever, and then Neil Turbin before that. Kind of like that, like where it's like it's heavy, it's thrash, it's riffy, a lot of great riffs and phenomenal guitar playing, and then he's got this voice. It's just phenomenal voice, like it's operatic at times and rough when it needs to be rough, and I guess the singer, he's going to go out singing with George Lynch soon. He's going to actually be doing George Lynch, I guess, is doing Lynch Mob, supposedly one last tour. And then but the singer, what's his name? Donovan. I think his last name is Donovan. I'm not good with names, but anyway, I think there's a brother. The bass player and the singers are brothers in here. And Davenport, I think is his last name. Anyway, they're from Louisiana too. Like whenever time you see live clips, the singer's like, "We are Void from Lafayette, Louisiana." You got to get that out there. You got to say, look, we're from Louisiana. But what's cool about them is they sound like the first thing I noticed was classic Testament. Not the way Testament sounds now. Testament sounds badass now, but like Testament on the Legacy album, like just those harmonized riffs, and then the songs like Over the Wall. There's a couple songs here that kind of almost sound like that, But you could definitely tell it's their influences, and they're young. So that's what I love about seeing the young bands like this. I want to see them carry the torch for the future of metal, not bands like Sleep Token and Ghost. I love Ghost and everything, but I want to see these bands somehow. There's another band called Tail Gunner. Oh man, check out Tail Gunner. They're going to be on my 2026 list because they got a new album coming out next year. So they're definitely going to make that list, I'm sure. But they're coming up really big. Void, another band I can see playing festivals. If they haven't already, I think they've probably played a few smaller ones. But it's going to be a matter of time before we see them playing Wacken and all those other big festivals, and then they're just going to take off, and hopefully they carry that torch to the future of metal. Because Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, they're getting up there. We know they're still kicking ass live, but it's only going to be about maybe 2 or 3 more years before they just finally say, you know what, fuck it, we're done. And then who's going to be that next band? Is it going to be Slipknot and System of a Down, all the bands from the 90s? It's going to be in their 60s and 70s still doing big shows, or is it going to be these young bands? That's like my dream, is to see these bands be the big mainstream, just take off and just be like, that's what everybody knows about and loves, and because their music is so traditional metal. But yeah, it's probably a long shot because it's just, like I said, with the way the market is now and the way the music industry is now, it's probably a long shot. So you just got to love what you love, get into them, be a fan, put them in your collection, and that's the best you could do, I'm not one of those who's like, oh, if they make it big, it's not my band no more. They sold out. No, I want everybody to know about them. Yeah. Look at this for number 14. Destruction, Birth of Malice. I've always loved Destruction, no matter what. They always make my list, no matter what. They've been consistent with putting out good records. Took me a little while to get into this one, though, compared to the Diabolic that came out before this. But But there was one day I just started listening to it and just reading the lyrics along with it, and I just fell in love with it, like really fell in love with it. And because it was down there, it was probably around 19 or 20 on the list, but the more I heard it, the more it kept going up. Burning Witches was going down as Destruction was going up. Kind of like, hey, we're passing by in the elevator, up and down. Yeah, there's a Schmear right there. I think he's the only original guy left in the band. But still, he still got the voice, still got the sound. I love the artwork. It's probably AI. I don't know if it's AI or not, but I'll have to read and see who the artist is. But yeah, that's my number 14 is Destruction. Number 13, I don't have their CD because it's hard to find. I think I could order one off Discogs. I just got to see because it's like $30 for a CD. Because I think I can. I don't think there's any US sales for it. This band called Actor, AKTOR. Here's the JPEG, and great record. This album is called Professori Season 2, and it's so unique. I mean, another one of those bands I discovered on the new wave of traditional heavy metal. Yet these guys don't sound like traditional heavy metal. They sound like a cross between, I want to say, Devo mixed with, like, say, a little bit of Voivod in there. And then their arrangements are just so odd and unique. And then they're telling this story. I guess this album is based on like the Swedish. I think it's Swedish, or might be what's the other country? Sweden. And then there's I can't think of it. Anyway, on detective stories, I guess detective shows, like maybe it's Swedish detective shows. And basically, so this whole tells a story. So like each song, you're like, just telling like this mystery of like who done it. Like there's a crime that happened, and then they're trying to figure out who done it, and there's a detective involved. There's all these characters in it, but each song is just really cool. There's all these little cool melodic pieces, and then there's like weird time changes, and then like I said, his voice is, like I said, unique because it's not like a metal voice or nothing. Like I said, it's kind of like almost like Devo's voice, but cooler in a sense. So yeah, Actor is my number 13. That went up there pretty far for being a band I just discovered like maybe a month ago, right? Number 12, they always make my list. This time is a little bit lower than last time, but still a great record. The London Suede, they were just one of my favorite. They're not metal or nothing. They're more of an, I guess, Brit pop or alternative rock. But there's just always been one of my favorite bands of all, like since that first album came out. The song Animal Nitrate is when I saw that video on MTV, and I was like, fuck, this band is really cool. I love the melodies that they're coming up with. And then Dogman Star came out. When I got that record, I thought, that's what, man, it was just like the melodies on there and the songwriting was just so good. I didn't care what genre they fit in or whatever. It's like, this is going to be my favorite band or one of my favorite bands. So yeah, and they've been coming back strong. They've been releasing an album every couple of years. And I mean, the Blue Hour is their best one in more recent times. That's a phenomenal record. That's like up there with Dogman Star. I think if not better. But Antidepressants is number 12. It's really a good record. It's a little bit more like kind of like, it's not as kind of dark as their other albums, but it's dark in a weird way. It's kind of like, it's very upbeat, very alternative sounding, but just really good. All right, so the London Suede, sometimes they go by just Suede, but mostly the London Suede. Antidepressants is number 12. Number 11. So this another band I had on my show recently, and I discovered. So if you notice, like a little trend here, like these bands I've been discovering, and they've been hitting my list like right away, just because they're so damn good, is Creatures. And I got the vinyl coming too. I got the CD. Look at that. Yeah. Such a good band. I mean, I listen to the CD a lot. Very melodic, just traditional heavy metal in the style of like Dokken. I like Lizzie Borden. Like the first thing I thought about was Lizzie Borden, early Lizzie Borden. But mostly like a lot of Dokken kind of sound like just straight, like just like when you hear it, like you almost feel like you're transformed back into the 80s, almost like kind of like when you watch Stranger Things for the first time. You're thinking like, especially if you're my age, like 57, you're watching Stranger Things and you see how well they captured the way we looked in the 80s and the way we acted as kids and stuff. But this band does the same thing, and they're young dudes. They're like I said, I had the guitar player Mathis on my show, and he's like the main guy of the band, I guess, that formed it and everything. And yeah, he's like 27 years old. So like when he was in high school, he was probably the bands that were popular there for like as far as metal was probably like Slipknot and those kind of bands and stuff. But he was always into like the traditional metal stuff. And yeah, so Creatures 2 is the name of the album. And yeah, very good. A really cool dude. I had him on my show. I'm hoping to get the whole band on eventually at some point next year. That'd be great. And maybe even talk to the singer, because the singer has another band called Hellway Train, which is really fucking good. I mean, I would say really good. I wouldn't say they're like better than Creatures, because they're two different style of metal. Like Hellway Train's like that traditional Judas Priest, whereas these guys are more like I said, like that sort of just straight up rock metal, hard rock and metal with a lot of melody and stuff like that. So just two really great bands, and the singer's in both of them. All right. So yeah, I'd like to get him on the show. Creatures at number 11. Now we're getting into the 10. Woo. You're going to be surprised why this is on number 10 and not higher. Ghost Skeleton. You know, when Impera came out, which was 2022, I think that made number 1. Matter of fact, I remember 2022, it was tied with Queensryche's. Impera was so good, and Queensryche's album, I forgot, the Digital Noise or something, whatever it's called, Alliance. Digital Noise Alliance was so good. I just couldn't decide. So I said, you know what? First time at the time we were called just the Metal Block history. It wasn't a big history because I only had been doing it for like about a year after that, or before that. But yeah, for the first time ever, I had a tie. It was tied with Queensryche and Ghost Impera. So fast forward to 2025, this album comes out, and I like it when I first hear it. I'm playing it a lot. The thing with Impera, I've played it every single day, probably sometimes 2 times a day, 3 times a day for like about a good month, and then within 3 months, I was playing it 3 times a week, and then and then 4 or 5 times a month, and I just couldn't get enough of that record. Whereas this, I listened to it a lot. I really love it, especially the opening track. What's it called? Oh, Peacefield. Yeah, Peacefield is a fucking brilliantly written song. It's kind of, a lot of people say it sounds like Separate Ways from Journey, like the chorus, which it does a little bit. It's just the first couple of words or a couple of lines of the melody. Lacrima is a great song. I mean, it's a great record. It's something I'm not putting on all the time for some reason. I'm looking forward to seeing them in concert in February when they come. I haven't bought my ticket yet. I'm waiting to see how low the tickets will come, because right now the tickets are like up there kind of high as far as, but then not the very good seats. So I think if you wait closer to a show, if you can hold on, wait till about a good month, maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks before the show, and you'll start seeing a lot of really great seats come down in price. And if you wait till the actual day of the show, you might actually get up front for like half the price, because sometimes people cancel or they sell their tickets or whatever, and they got to fill those spots. We are moving on to number 9. You with me? Yeah. Fucking these guys are back, man. Corner. Fucking Corner, man. Corner, dude. Look at that. Corner. 3-piece. Can you get that in there? I like the ball game. You always get the sinister smile, the singer. It looks like he's like ready to like politely kill you. Fucking great record. Was jamming this the other day. I want to see, like, okay, it was kind of like lower on the list, but I thought, you know what? No way, this sucker's going to go up a little bit higher. Can't put that in there. Anyway, Corner, Dissonance Theory came out this year, of course. It's on the 2025 list, but phenomenal record. It's just Thrash. You know what his voice reminds me of? In the music, even, it kind of reminds me of how Celtic Frost, or Celtic Frost, for all the purists out there, how Celtic Frost sounded on the Monotheist album. Just that real heavy, and the way Tom Warrior sang on there. This band here and this album sort of reminds me of that. So this is really great. I love all their album covers. They always have that same kind of black ribbon and then their name. So no matter what their cover is, they'll have that black ribbon goes down, which is kind of cool. But yeah, great band. Underrated too in the thrash world. I don't think they're considered death metal, but who knows what kind of metal they are. You can name your own style of metal, right? You could just whatever it is to you. Like, I used to tell people, and they say, "What kind of music does your band play?" I don't know. Listen to it and tell me what you think what it sounds like. For me, it's just metal, or just gothic in some areas. I guess if I was going to try to label it, but I just try to write good songs that I like and that I like to listen to, and however it comes out. But it's like I said, someone could listen to me like, that sounds like black metal, and I think, well, I wasn't really thinking black metal when I wrote it. Igor is number 8. This fucking album, man. This band, I think it was like their first album in like 5 years. Like the last time I got this something desert, distortion desert or whatever. I'm bad with titles. Fuck this out. This dude, the Gautier, I think his name is. He's from France. It's phenomenal. He's like the Trent Reznor of this music. Whether it's like, which I don't even consider like it's. I guess it's kind of there's a lot of black metal in here. There's like Baroque music. And he has, and if you go on YouTube and check out Igor, it's Igorrr, and you can see like the making of this record or making of one of the videos, and the stuff that they put into their songs. I mean, they have like he has like this huge freaking warehouse, and there's all these different tools and just different gadgets all set up, and he's just going around hitting things and recording it and then putting that into the song. There's like one part of the song on here where it's like the piano goes pling, and it's like a kind of a crash sound. How he got that sound was he literally went out to like a very secluded area, got a big old giant dumpster truck, put a piano on it, and then I guess, or I think it was a piano. He did something where he either dropped the piano onto the ground and then just record. He went through all of that. It was probably took like a whole day to film it, and then, just to get that one sound of a piano fucking breaking or whatever. Like it's like this big bulldozer just smashes the piano. It's like fuck, man. That's dedication to recording, and it's just like I said, the guy's a genius, I think, and this is a great record. There's a lot of instrumental kind of stuff. I forgot who the singer is. He has like a different singer on here, but I was watching some live clips. They're really cool live. There's an operatic singer. I can't remember her name, but she's like a really phenomenal singer. Yeah, because like it'll be like real heavy and chaotic, and it breaks into this really cool operatic piece. I mean, it's just amazing. And none of it's like sampled or nothing like that. This guy's really playing this stuff. He's literally like on the piano composing this shit and then turning it into whatever he turns it into. So yeah, Igor, number 8, phenomenal. Number 7, got to go with Cradle of Filth. This is like their best album in a long time. I love this record. I've listened to it multiple times. Like the last album they had was good, but it's kind of like burned out after a little while. But this album is just nonstop from top to bottom, really good. I mean, obviously there's that controversy that happened earlier in the year when is it this guy and his girlfriend, maybe it's this chick over here, or his wife or something like that. I guess they kind of got in it with Danny Filth about money and all, the typical band shit, the financial shit, management shit, and they were just blasting each other online, going back and forth on shit, and we got to sit there and watch the drama. But then they just kind of dropped out. Like I don't hear nothing about Cradle of Filth anymore. So maybe they need to get another fight going. But anyway, Screaming of the Valkyries is number 7. Get out there and get this phenomenal record. This record was low on my list, but then I was listening the other day and then yesterday, and I just can't get enough of every song in here. It's just so fucking good. Michael Schenker Group. Eric Gronwald, the guy that was singing for Skid Row, sings on here, and then I think Macaulay, whatever that guy's one of the original singers of Michael Schenker Group is on here, and some other dude. I think they only do a couple songs, but Eric Gronwald sings the majority of the songs, and just a phenomenal record. Just very melodic. I mean, his guitar playing is just so phenomenal. Now I know why people consider. I didn't really kind of get it before because maybe I wasn't listening right or something. Because you always hear people like, "Oh, Michael Schenker, he's my idol. He's the reason why I play guitar." And it's like, yeah, he's good, but I'm not hearing what they're hearing. Until I heard it on this record, I'm like, holy shit! His solos are just phenomenal, and it's his tone. It's the tone in his fingers that he's, a guitar player. People think that most of the tone is in their amps or how they get their sound, but no, it's in the fingers. It's the way the person is playing. And so. Hats off to Michael Schenker Group. This is a great record. He's also consistent on putting records out at least every year and a half or so. It's like I think he did a UFO record with a bunch of different singers. Obviously he was in UFO. I'm losing my voice. I'm going to get some water. You with me? Michael Schenker Group. Number 6. Number 5. Another band that made my list. It was 2023 is what. Now I remember who was number 1 in 2023 for me. It was Catatonia. Their album at the time, I think Void of Stars or whatever. Yeah, pretty sure that was a 2023. I could be wrong though. You're probably going to check me on that. But their new album, the long title, Nightmares as Extensions of the Waking State. Fucking phenomenal band right here. I mean, they're very melodic, very gothic sounding, but then they have these really cool time changes like 7/8 time and 6/8 time or whatever. I'm not good with time signatures, but I'm just trying to sound like smart on that. I know everything else on music theory as far as my modes and the circle of fifths and all that shit like that. And but when it comes to time signatures, I'm like, I can't tell what time signature is. I know 4/4 when I hear it because it's so common. But anyway, they do some weird time changes, but they do it in a way where it's not like, I guess some people sometimes say they sound like Tool a little bit. I'm not a big Tool fan. I try to get into Tool, but there's some stuff I like on Tool as far as their overall like bass lines and things like that. But if I'm gonna choose between bands that sound like that, I'm gonna go with Catatonia, just because they're so unique sounding. I like the way that's glistering. But yeah, good record from top to bottom. Took me a little while to get into it compared to Void of Stars or Sky Void of Stars. To that I loved right off the bat, but this one, it kind of took me a little while to get into it. But the more I listened to it, the higher it got up on my list. So it's like, okay, it's got to be at number 5 at least, because again, they were number 1 at one point. Sometimes you got to fall. You can be from number 1 down to 5, but you're still up there, still in my top 10. That's a good thing, right? Yeah. So get out there and get Catatonia. I think they're from Sweden. Or one of those countries. There's something in the water in Sweden, man. It's like everyone's like good songwriters there. Wish I was born in Sweden. I feel like I'm a good songwriter, but I'm not Sweden songwriter material. Halloween. Giants and Monsters makes number 4 on my list. Phenomenal record, man, from top. These guys just always deliver. Their last album before this one, just a self-titled album, was fucking great. There's that. There's the band. Love the artwork. It's the same guy that did the last album cover, and then he also did my number 1 pick. I bet you can't guess what that's gonna be as we're getting closer. And if you did, don't say anything. Spoiler alert. But Halloween, Giants and Monsters, phenomenal record. Not a whole lot to say other than it's just a good record. There's only one song on here that's kind of goofy that I can care less about. I think it's called Majestic, probably. It's either Under the Moonlight or Majestic. It's kind of a goofy song. Like I was thinking, like, what the hell is that on there for? Then there's a bonus track called Out of Control. That's really good. Standout tracks. This is Tokyo, which is like the first single they put out, which is really good. The first opening song, Giants on the Run, is really good. A little is a little too much is really good. Just good. I mean, they're just a master of melodies. A lot of people call them power metal, which they are in the sense they were like the godfathers of power metal, I guess you could say. Or I wouldn't say they're godfathers, but they're one of the earlier bands that was kind of known as power metal. Where like these days, I can't really get into power metal like Power Wolf and a lot of those bands that like sing about pirates and Caribbean and all this shit. It's like I can't get into that, man. And I like the Viking stuff. Just don't get too crazy about the Viking stuff. I like Viking themed music, but just don't get too crazy where you're like fucking singing about boats and roaring down the oceans and ho ho malo, doing all kind of stuff and drinking mead and everything. It's just come on, it just gets goofy. Because at some point it starts to sound like Disney music. It's stuff like mostly like the pirate themed bands. It's like I was watching Powerwolf, one of their newer songs, and I thought I was watching like a Disney fucking Broadway something or whatever, spectacle. But yeah, just I can't get into that. Giants and Monsters. Number 4. Number 3. You know what? This was actually my number 1 record for a long time this year. I love this record. This is like, man, Alice Cooper is back with this. He's back with the original band. Look at the fucking artwork on that. I love the artwork. That's what really draws me to it. The colors. I mean, the beautiful green. There's my favorite bass player. I think that's him right there. Yeah. Dennis Dunaway. Like I said, which Johnny Martin reminds me is the way he plays his bass, the bass lines he runs. I'm not sure if he's even influenced by Dennis Dunaway, but if you were to guess, you would think he was. But yeah, Alice Cooper's Revenge of Alice Cooper. Great record from top to bottom. Another Bob Ezrin masterpiece. It seems like everything that dude touches, it turns into gold. Yeah. So if you young bands out there, if you want to make it big, call up Bob Ezrin and get him on your record. He'll put you over the top like he did with Kiss and Alice Cooper. So number 3 is Alice Cooper's Revenge. Alice Cooper, Alice Cooper's Revenge. It's the original band, first time together in like 50-something years. They put out a record together, and I hope they put out another one because they just sound phenomenal. Oh, man. And the reason why Alice Cooper got knocked down because, and this is just an EP. I normally wouldn't put an EP on here just because I like to talk about full albums or whatever, but I just couldn't resist. I mean, Rock and Metal, this band is back, and I'm hoping to eventually release a full album at some point, but this album is just fucking phenomenal. I mean, they're like kind of like that band Igor I was saying about, how they're just like their arrangements are just genius. And like this band, okay, when you think about bands that tell stories like King Diamond, Cradle of Filth, you know, this band does it too, but just their stuff is just phenomenal. Like, I mean, you could really, it's almost like watching a movie, but you're listening to it. Like, especially when you read the lyrics and stuff, but they always have all these different themes. Like their last album was themed after the Frankenstein. Before that, they had like this Hansel and Gretel type of theme. Forgot which album that was for, but anyway, just a phenomenal fucking this. And for this only being like 5 songs if you count the intro, it's fucking phenomenal. And it sounds like a full album just because of the way everything flows on it. So yeah, so Rock and Metal is my number 2, and it jumped up there because I almost forgot about it too. I was thinking, oh shit, I did get it correctly. And that's why Alice Cooper had to take the number 3 spot. Because Alice Cooper was number 1, and then it got knocked down to number 2. And I'm going to show you who number 1 is. Here we are. Drum roll. Number 1 record and the best record of the year. And I think just such a phenomenal freaking sounding record is Testament's Parabellum. This band needs to carry the torch as well into the future. Forget all the Hellstorms and the Godzillas and the Mastodons and all those, you know, I guess you say industry metal bands or whatever. They always get the Grammys every year. You know, whenever the Grammys come up, they're like, who can we give a Grammy to that's metal and rock? Hailstorm. Oh, I don't know. They're a little bit heavy. Oh, what about Gojira? Oh, yeah, they played the Olympics. We could give them an award. We won't televise it, though. What about Metallica? Yeah, we'll give Metallica one just because they're the most mainstream and they've been around. And, you know, they started out like Testament, just thrash and heavy. But then they just sort of they got to where we can like them. So we're going to give them a Grammy. Testament will never get a Grammy because they just stay heavy. They stay heavy. They stay brutal. This album is just phenomenal. I did a review on it. If you go on my channel, you can see the album review that I did for it. I gave it a fucking 4 horns up. Because, yeah. Beautiful artwork. And again, we were talking about the artwork earlier. This is the same guy that did the artwork for Halloween's album. He's done like a lot of artwork for different men. I think he did Sodom and stuff. I don't know why it's Eliran, I think his name is. I can't think of his full name, but Eliran. Yeah, For the Love of Pain it opens up with, and it's, when I heard it, it sounded like, didn't even sound like Chuck Billy singing. It's like I said, I think Eric Peterson, because it says he does guitar and vocals, so I'm pretty sure he does a lot of vocals on here, because there's a lot of black metal sounding vocals, and Eric Peterson is the black metal dude of the band. So phenomenal. I mean, and then Chuck Billy's voice, and there's a ballad on here called Meant to Be, and Chuck is singing it, and it's just so good. And then he has a song called Room 117, which you could tell us about when he had cancer, you know, and probably being in a hospital room, and man. So yeah, Testament is number 1. What's your number 1? Do you agree with me on this? Do you hate me on this, or are you hating it? Do you think there should have been something else? But yeah. But I'm going to give you my honorable mentions here in a little bit. Got a pretty good list of those. You'll probably think like, well, why didn't those make it to the list? Well, they're on the list. If I did a top 25 or top 30, then yeah, they'd be on there. But you got to keep it top 20. But yeah, it's been fun doing this, and I'm going to be back next year. Got some good. I had a lot of good guests. If you check out my channel, I believe I had a recap of the guests I've had over the years. I don't think I posted it yet. I posted on TikTok and everything else, but I didn't post it on YouTube yet. So look out for that. That's just kind of like me giving like a rundown of all the guests I've had over this past year. I've had like 9 guests altogether. And here's my TikTok. If you look in the corner there, yeah. So if you put your phone up, if you're watching this on your phone, I don't know how you could scan it or whatever, but if you're watching this on your PC, then hold your phone up to it, and then it'll take you to my TikTok page, because that's where all the action's at. You know, I do like I did celebrate 14 years sobriety. That's something I could give a shout out about. Just saw an interesting thing with Joe Walsh today. Forgot who was asking him. Oh, Sammy Hagar was interviewing about, you know, him stopping alcohol, and he made a really good point. He said when you have problems in life and they are directly tied to your addiction, then you have a fucking problem. He said at some point it doesn't work for you anymore. You start working for it, and that hit home because because you know when the drugs and the alcohol starts, you think it's working for you because it's helping you do this and do that. But then it becomes where you're working for it. In other words, you're out there hustling, trying to get whatever you can to get that next fix or whatever, chasing that high. Joe Walsh, I guess he's at 30 years, I think 20 years sobriety or something like that. But yeah, he was a pretty heavy drinker. So anyway, enough of that. This ain't alcohol and drug counseling. This is heavy metal. This is about rock and roll and metal of the world. So I want to thank you, Fall, for joining me on this. And yeah. We can do this again next year, and I'm looking already for, like I said, a lot of good records already coming out next year. I got Megadeth in January, got Mayhem, I think, in February or March or somewhere. New Mayhem record, that's gonna be fucking cool. And be kind to yourself, because if you're not good to yourself, you're no good to anyone else. All right, so horns up.